Hello, welcome everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Dr. Angel Leon, and I am a educational psychologist and founder of Tiny Sprouts. And today we're going to talk about something that frustrates a lot of parents. Your child understands emotions, they know the rules, but somehow in the moment it all falls apart. That's not a discipline problem. That's a brain integration problem. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why and what actually fixes it. So, before we dive in, this webinar feeds into our summer EQ and IQ Advantage Camp. So, if what you hear today resonates with you, I'll share how to get your child a spot at the end. So, here we go. You've tried everything your school counselor, your mom groups, and all those parenting social media suggested it. You've downloaded the breathing card, you've done the feeling check ins, and yet Monday morning, your kid still melts down over a snack. And the reason that these strategies aren't working has nothing to do with your child's motivation and nothing to do with your parenting. It has everything to do with how we've been teaching emotional skills. The know better but can't do better child is incredibly common and incredibly frustrating. My child understands emotion perfectly, but in real life, it all disappears. Does that sound familiar? So at school, we overreact to small things. They struggles with pure conflict and they get stuck in that frustration loop. And at home, they're logical 1 minute, but explosive the next. You know they know the rules, but somehow they just cannot follow them under pressure. They argue with you, but cannot regulate feelings. And this is not inconsistency or bad behavior. This is what happens when emotional and cognitive circuits are trained separately and are never integrated. So, this is not a character flaw, it is a skill gap. Especially, it's a brain integration skill gap. So, most emotional learning programs, including ones that are used in schools, are missing a critical piece. We've been teaching emotions isolated from thinking. Most programs focus on labeling feelings, breathing techniques, coping strategies, calm down strategies, emotional charts, and worksheets, and whatnots. But real life actually requires thinking under pressure. It requires interpreting social situations. It requires making decisions while being emotional. Real life requires switching between logic and emotions constantly. So, real life doesn't happen in calm classrooms with feeling charts on the wall. Real life happens fast, under pressure, and with other people's involved. So, what we know about all these from research is that there's one from Damasio's somatic marker hypothesis. So, Damasio's patient with prefrontal lobe damage could reason logically, but they always make catastrophic decisions because they had no emotional input. This is what he called the cold logic problem. In studies like the Iowa gambling task, these patients analyze options logically, but they fail to feel the dread for high risk negative outcomes, which lead to continued disadvantage decisions. Now, with Diamond's work on executive functioning, it's gold. Working memory, inhibitory control, cognitive flexibility, they all degrade under emotional load. Kids aren't choosing to fail. Their brain literally cannot access the skill in the moment. And the fact, number three, is that the Castle meta analysis showed that SEL programs do work, but only when it's embedded in contextual real life scenarios. And isolated feeling lessons don't transfer. So, from all these, we know that emotion is not the opposite of logic. Kids can't access skills they can't regulate toward. And context is not optional, is the mechanism. So, this is how we actually need to teach our children these five essential steps. Number one, stop. Stop everything that you're doing. Stop, literally stop. And then two, we calm ourselves down. And then three, think. What is going on? Why is this happening? And three, then we talk about the feelings. Who is feeling what kind of feelings? Which feelings? And then we purposefully put feeling after the thinking and the calm down because we need to access that logical brain first to have them think through logically with reasons before they access the emotional portion. And then lastly, deciding how to behave. So each step is essential to allow our children to connect to their prefrontal lobe. Um, and this is there's one thing that we have to understand from a physiological and neurological standpoint, that children's brain develop and process from the bottom up. So I'm not going to go through the actual mechanism in this webinar, um, but what we need to do is connect the brainstem to the limbic system and to the cortical system so that we can connect from the base point, the survival portion, the sensory motor, the emotional part, all the way to the thinking and learning processing point altogether. So we're tackling the whole brain. So in our program, we specifically teach something called the systems thinking to our students. So what is that exactly? So linear thinking looks at one-way relationship and individual parts that might fix a symptom. Versus system thinking, it looks at two-way relationship and root causes by examining how they connect to the other parts of the system. So this is all coming into the 7 frameworks that we actually teach the kids. This is our Tuesday session inside the camp. Most kids are taught to think linearly, cause and effect, step by step, right? But in real life, situations are never linear. They involve networks, not hierarchies. Um, we're talking about relations, not isolated events or objects or people. Conflict with a friend is not a linear problem. It's a dynamic system with history, emotion, intention, and context. So we teach the kids to read that system, to understand that system, and not just react to the surface, right? Our camp is intellectually rigorous, and this is system science applied to the developing brain. And kids as young as 6 years old can learn this when it's taught in a engaging, scenario-based way. And before we can build resilience, we need to understand what triggers emotional flooding in the first place. And I like to call these soft spots, which are commonly known as triggers. These are emotional pressure points that, when activated, override logical thinking. So, what are they? Rejection, abandonment, humiliation, betrayal, injustice, performance pressure, and emotional invalidation. So every child, or I should say, everyone, even adults, have these soft spots, these triggers. And these aren't weaknesses, right? They're a feature of being human, right? The difference is children who can identify their soft spots, these trigger points, can develop choice before they react towards it. So the soft spot map directly to why kids blow up when they feel rejected, when they feel abandoned, humiliated, or unfairly treated, right? So identifying which soft spot just got activated is the difference between reacting automatically and choosing how to respond. And our Thursday, the entire day, choice before words is built around this. And that awareness is the first step to choice. And most point parents I work with are, doing one of these two things: feeling with your heart. Just calm down, use your breathing, understand that you're upset, or thinking with your brain. That doesn't make sense. Just think about it. You know better than that. So both are out of love, but both missing the mark. The emotion parents produce kids who are understood but stuck. Their emotion is validated, but reasoning never engages. Now, the over logic parents produces kids who are connected but not regulated. Reasoning is applied before the brain is actually ready. So does that sound familiar? Maybe you see yourself in one of these. And the real skill is the ability to fluidly switch between emotional mode and rational mode, between emotional and logical states under real pressure with real stakes. And that actually takes practice in real conditions with the right kind of challenge. So this is actually from our Thursday's empathetic response session. I'm showing you a taste of what we actually teach. So in most programs, kids are taught one or two responses: breathe, count to 10, or just ignore them, right? But inside our camp, kids learn 12 distinct empathetic response strategies, not as scripts, but as a toolbox they can actually select in, in real social situations. Um, so you can see there's some like humorless, neutrality, reframe, assertive fact check, delay, and process later. So notice that some of these are cognitive strategies, some of them are social strategies, some are internal regulation strategies. And that's the point. That's the integration. They all live in the same toolbox. So, for example, somebody said that to you. We already picked teams and you're not in it. So, that's a trigger of rejection. Okay. It When somebody hears this, their brain might think, oh, I don't matter here, right? I'm not wanted. I don't belong. That social exclusion implies that you don't fit, right? And this is very, very common in school settings or social settings. So, with that trigger rejection, um, when somebody hears this, your brain might think, okay, oh no, right? I don't matter here. And because rejection wounds needs connection, not confrontation. So we're teaching them these response types. They're self-affirming. Well, I still like myself. It's okay, right? Or redirect. I'll find someone else to play. Or just, humorless neutrality. Okay, yeah, whatever. Then walk away and be okay. Or support, right? For another one, oh, that's so easy. Are you stupid or something? Right. Obviously, this, it triggers the humiliation soft spot, right? Um, this pokes at the feeling of being small or stupid in front of the others, right? Like, why would you do something like that? Everybody knows how, right? It triggers that core fear of I'm exposed, I'm not good enough, right? It's comparing you with another person. It's done a lot of times as a public embarrassment, right? And it attacks that competence and dignity. And what's the best response type for this? So we're teaching the kids, right? Well, I'm still learning, right? You're reframing that. Or, problem solving, right? Can you show me how it's done, right? No shame in just learning, right? Or, okay, no argument. It's fine. I'm okay for not knowing that. It's okay, right? Um, so lowering that intensity is key here. So these are just some of the how we teach the kids to respond when they're being triggered instead of going, emotional havoc, going to frustration and act out, meltdown and breakdown. So this is what makes our approach different from every other SEL programs out there. So we make them think inside the emotional moments, right? With structured decisions, frameworks, and scenario based reasoning, not just hypothetical lectures. We teach the students, to read and respond to social dynamics. We're teaching them how to interpret the intent, understand the context that's being said or done, and understand the impact of it, of what is being done to me and what my response is to others, right? And it's just not about labeling emotions from a chart. That's really, really rudimentary, which that's definitely valid when they're really, really young. But at this age, the elementary school level, we need to expand their thinking and their learning, right? And that's what we're doing. And so we are also shifting between emotional and logical states by practicing cognitive flexibility under real pressure, not in a calm classroom per se, but we're giving them that, simulated pressure. And we apply all the skills in real life simulations, like I said, with conflict scenarios, peer dynamic escape room, drama. We have obstacle course on the last day. So these are actual conditions, not just a role play script that you read off from. So these are not soft stuff. They're deliberately pressured, right? Um, so it's not passive, it's not touchy feely, it's not surface level. These are actual applied psychology in action. And we don't have kids sitting in circles, crisscross applesauce, sharing their feelings. And that's not how skills are built, right? Skills are built through practice under pressure. And that's exactly what we do. So here's a bird's eye view of the week. Monday, my brain is a boss. Kids learn how the brain actually works, why it hijacks them, and how to get back in control. And on Tuesday, we're talking about more than one way to think, the flexible and systems thinking. And then on Wednesday, two ways of caring. We're talking about the cognitive and affective empathy. We're talking about empathy in systems like when you're just by yourself. How do you give, yourself self-empathy to build up that resilience, right? To build up that confidence, that self-esteem in you, right? That you are okay without anybody needing to pull you down or even to prop you up, right? And when you're on one with one another person, how does that dynamic change, right? Versus when you are in a small group of, let's say, four or five, right? How does that change each person? And we're putting them in another person's perspective to see how that works. And then versus when you're in a bigger group, like a classroom setting or a social setting or like a sports setting, right? How does that different? How is that different from being a small group versus just when you and another person versus when you're just by yourself, right? We're teaching them to look at the broader picture, right? So day four, this is where the soft spots and the empathetic response tools come in. Um, we're building their confidence and setting boundaries for themselves as well. And Friday we're bringing it all together with the obstacle course, empathy game, and when I misjudge reflection writing. And then in the afternoon it's not just passive. We have escape room drama, arts and craft with psychological themes. We watch and reflect films as we go along. So this is by no means a passive program where you just send your child to pass the time. You're if you're looking for a babysitter, this is not for you. Okay, so this is our summer camp. We originally have two sessions, but one session is already filled. So right now we have the June 8th to the 12th open, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And there are only a few spots left. And the campsite is in Milpita's Adult Learning Center in Milpita. Okay, and this is the QR code that directly links to the website here to register is www.mytinysprouts.com/camps. So please do take advantage of that. And right now we have a promotion going on with the Refer a Friend, where you will receive $20 of Amazon e-gift card if you refer a friend, and they will get $10 off their camp registration when they register and mention your camper's name on their form. So please do take advantage of that. And if you still have questions and concerns or needing just a little guidelines, um, feel free to go to this website, mytinysprouse.com/consultation, or use that QR code right there. And book a free 30-minute private consultation with me, where I can we can kind of look and see what we can go from there and see what you need that will tailor to your family, to your child's specific needs. And on the consultation form, it asks you three different times where it's convenient and available to you, and we can set that up. So, and I hope that will help take care of you and your family in a positive manner. So, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. All of our website and emails and socials are the same. My Tiny Sprouts, my Tiny Sprouts. Okay. So please do reach out to us. We are here all the time. We're hoping to support you one way or another. So thank you for attending today's webinar. I hope you learned something today, and we hope to be your continued support in the very near future, whatever that might be. So thank you.